The phone rang 22 times in 1 hour. I know because my daughter counted. She thought it was a game at first. She kept looking at my beach bag every time it buzzed and whispering, "That's 15, Mommy. Yep, that's 16." Like we were waiting for fireworks. I was 300 miles from home, sitting on a faded blue beach blanket on Tybee Island, watching my son dig a hole so deep he said he could hear China breathing at the bottom. My mother was calling from a resort parking lot in Hilton Head. My sister was standing beside her, screaming at a front desk clerk who could not give them a room they had not paid for. But I did not know that yet. All I knew in that moment was the ocean, the sand under my feet, the smell of sunscreen and salt, my daughter's wet hair sticking to her cheeks, my son's plastic shovel flashing yellow in the sun, and the strange, light feeling in my chest because for the first time in 4 years I had chosen my own children over my family's expectations. That phone call and the 21 calls after it were not the beginning. They were just the sound the ending made. So let me tell you how we got there. Welcome back to Revenge Stories. My name is Elena Hart. I'm 33 years old, a bookkeeper in a small town outside Atlanta, and this is the story of how my sister convinced my mother to cut me and my kids out of the family vacation, then tried to pay for that same vacation with my debit card. It is also the story of a dead father's letter, a mother who always just went along, a sister who thought my kindness was a credit line, and a beach trip that taught my kids something I should have learned years earlier. Being family does not mean being available for use. I worked at Keats Family Veterinary Clinic on Route 11, right after the BP station, and before the little white church with the crooked sign. My official title was office manager, but that was just a polite way of saying I did anything with numbers, files, invoices, calendars, insurance, and angry people who did not understand why their dog's surgery cost more than a new washing machine. I made $48,000 a year. Not poor, not rich. Careful. Careful was the word. Careful with bills. Careful with gas. Careful with groceries. Careful with school forms and dentist appointments and birthday presents from clearance shelves that still looked nice when you wrapped them with ribbon. My kids were Mila and Finn. Mila was 8, almost 9, all sharp questions and soft heart. Finn was 5, loud, sticky, and convinced that every animal wanted to be his friend. Their father left when Finn was 7 months old. He sent 2 birthday cards in 5 years and 1 child support payment that bounced so hard the bank charged me a fee for believing in it. He is not the main person in this story. He was just the first lesson. When someone walks away from your children, you stop waiting for them to turn around. Every morning, I woke at 5:25. Not 5:30, because those 5 minutes mattered. I packed lunches before the kids woke up. Peanut butter and honey for Mila, because she said jelly made the bread too loud. Turkey and cheese for Finn, because he believed lettuce was a trick adults played on children. I drove Mila to elementary school, Finn to preschool, and myself to the clinic by 7:45 if the traffic light at Brenner Road had mercy. I answered phones, I paid vendors, I tracked medication inventory, I balanced payroll. Then I picked the kids up at 5:15, went home, made dinner, checked homework, washed uniforms, listened to Finn tell me stories that started with dragons and ended with garbage trucks, and fell asleep most nights with one hand still on a laundry basket. I had a budget spreadsheet with 16 columns: rent, lights, water, gas, groceries, school fees, medical, car, kids, emergency, travel. I had colors for every category. Green meant paid, yellow meant watch it. Red meant don't breathe too hard until Friday. I put $150 a month into a travel savings account at a credit union across town. I acted like that money did not exist. I never touched it when the car needed tires. I did not touch it when Finn got bronchitis and the inhaler cost more than I expected. I did not touch it when Mila needed new shoes 2 weeks before payday. I built that account slowly, like someone laying bricks in the dark. Being good with money sounds like a strength until your family finds out. Then it becomes evidence. Evidence that you have extra, evidence that you can help, evidence that you are being selfish if you say no. In my family, careful people did not get thanked. They got volunteered. My father understood that. He was the only one who ever did. 4 years earlier, my father, Warren Hart, lay in a hospital bed at Grady Memorial with tubes in both arms and a kidney that had decided to quit before he did. He was 62, but 40 years of plumbing had made him look older. His hands were cracked, thick, and rough as tree bark. He had crawled under houses, fixed pipes in freezing crawl spaces, installed toilets for people who complained about the bill, and still came home smelling like metal and soap. He was the kind of man who marked every receipt, paid every bill before it was due, and knew exactly how much cash was in his wallet without checking. My sister Rochelle was 35 then. I was 29. We stood on opposite sides of his hospital bed, like two people pretending to be daughters in the same family. Rochelle wore big sunglasses on top of her head, even though we were indoors. She kept checking her phone. I kept watching Dad's chest rise and fall because every breath felt like a decision. Dad looked at me, not her. "Elena," he said, his voice dry and low, "I need you to handle things." I knew what he meant before he explained. Mom's bills, the insurance, the house, the bank logins, the things people call boring until a person dies, and suddenly those boring things decide who keeps the lights on. He reached under his pillow and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Later, I learned he had asked a nurse to bring it from his truck. Inside were the life insurance papers, Mom's account information, a list of monthly expenses in his blocky handwriting, the roof repair estimate, pharmacy numbers, utility due dates, and a note that said, "Do not let your mother pay anyone in cash without a receipt." Even dying, he knew us. "Keep the lights on for your mama," he said. "That's all I'm asking." I took the envelope. My hands shook. His did not. Rochelle said nothing in that room. She waited until we were in the elevator, just the two of us descending past floors that smelled like disinfectant and old coffee. She stared at the metal doors, then she pulled out her phone, typed with both thumbs, and my pocket buzzed before we reached the lobby. "Dad always liked you better. Enjoy your little promotion." I sat in my car for 23 minutes after that. I remember the number because the parking meter screen flashed it at me like an accusation. I had expected Rochelle to be angry. That was not new. What hurt was that Dad had needed to choose at all, and both of us knew why. Rochelle had bounced checks to the power company. She had borrowed $2,000 from Dad's retirement just for a month and never paid a dime back. She had used Mom's department store card to buy a patio set after her divorce and acted surprised when the bill came. Dad loved her. He just did not trust her with a checkbook. Dad died 3 months later, on a Tuesday in October. Rain beat the funeral home roof so hard it sounded like gravel. The life insurance paid $85,000. People hear a number like that and think it changes a life. It does not. Not when there are hospital bills, funeral costs, a leaking roof, an old water heater, and a widow with $1,400 a month in Social Security and prescriptions that cost more every year. I sat at my kitchen table with a calculator, a legal pad, and Dad's envelope. Medical debt, $31,000. Funeral home and burial, $10,600. Roof repair on Mom's house where the bathroom's subfloor had rotted soft, $8,200. Water heater, $2,450. Past due property taxes Dad had been too sick to handle, $3,100. Small bills, flowers, reception food, thank you cards, and the catering Rochelle promised to take care of, but somehow forgot. More than I wanted to count. When everything was done, there was $23,400 left. I put $22,000 in a savings account in Mom's name. Emergency fund. Untouchable. I printed the balance and put it in a folder. Then I set up a $300 monthly transfer from my checking account to Mom's account. First of every month, like rent, except I was paying for my mother's groceries, light bill, water bill, and the gap between what she needed and what she had. Rochelle contributed nothing. I have my own household to worry about, she said. Her own household was a brick house with a pool, 2 leased cars, and more throw pillows than any family could reasonably need. She had 2 kids, Harper and Cole, and a divorce from a man named Brent Vale, who was not good with money either, but at least knew he was not good with money. Rochelle said she had expenses. She always had expenses. New tires, kids' dance fees, a broken dishwasher, a weekend trip she needed because stress was bad for her skin. There was always a reason her wallet stayed closed when Mom needed help, but Rochelle had something stronger than money. She had access. She had Harper and Cole, Mom's youngest grandchildren, and she used them like keys. If Elena keeps coming over every Saturday, Rochelle told Mom once, I'll just stop bringing the kids by. I'm not dealing with her attitude. Mom stopped inviting me on Saturdays. I found out because Mila asked why Grandma only wanted to see us on Wednesdays now. I did not have a good answer, so I made one soft enough for a child. Grandma has different plans on weekends, baby. Mila accepted it because children trust the people they love to tell them the truth. That is one of the things adults take advantage of. For 4 years, I sent the $300. I bought Mom groceries when she said the pantry looked thin. I replaced her microwave when it died. I paid for 2 co-pays when she forgot her purse. I fixed her car insurance when she almost let it lapse. I did not do it because she was perfect. I did it because Dad asked me to keep the lights on, and because somewhere inside me I still believed that if I was useful enough, no one would question whether I belonged. Every summer since I was a little girl, the Hart family went to the beach. Back then, it was Jekyll Island. Same small cottages, same screened porches, same sand in the bed sheets, no matter how hard Mom shook the towels. Dad loaded the cooler at 4 a.m. while the rest of the neighborhood slept. Mom packed sunscreen, bug spray, crackers, and enough paper plates to feed a youth camp. Rochelle and I fought over the front seat until Dad threatened to turn the car around, and then we fell asleep against opposite windows before sunrise. It was the 1 week a year when nobody argued about money because Dad paid before anyone could ask. He would sit on the porch in the evening with a sweating glass of iced tea, work boots off, feet white where his socks had been, watching the waves like they owed him nothing. I think that was why I loved those trips. Not because they were fancy. They were not. But because for 1 week my father rested. When Dad died, the tradition should have ended. It would have been easier. But Mila loved the tide pools, and Finn's first beach trip was at 10 months old. He ate sand, laughed, and tried to eat more. Harper and Cole loved running with my kids. Mom loved having pictures to post on Facebook with captions like, "Family is everything." So I kept it alive. I booked the rooms, I planned the grocery list, I organized who brought towels and snacks and beach chairs, and mostly, I paid. The summer before everything happened, I booked 2 rooms at Ocean Breeze Cottages on Jekyll. 4 nights. Total cost $2,180. I paid $1,780. Rochelle Venmo'd me $400 2 months late after I asked 3 times, and she added a little wine glass emoji like that made it charming. Mom paid nothing. I told myself not to be bitter. I told myself it was for the kids. That is what you say when you are funding people who would call you selfish for stopping. By the next spring, my travel savings account had $2,640. I knew the number because I checked it every Friday night after the kids went to bed. It was separate from checking, clean, and quiet. A small account with a big purpose. I thought it would pay for another simple family beach trip. I thought I was still building the same old tradition. But Rochelle had a different plan. 3 months before summer, on a gray Thursday in March, Brent picked up Harper and Cole from Rochelle's house. The divorce had been final for 2 years, but they still spoke to each other like the paperwork had not finished burning. Brent sold commercial flooring and drove a black Silverado with a dented bumper. He was the kind of man who wore cologne to a kid handoff and called it doing business. Harper ran to the truck first. Cole followed, dragging a backpack that looked bigger than him. Brent leaned against the truck bed while Rochelle stood in the doorway. "You know Elena turned me down for that $5,000, right?" he said. He had asked me for money the previous fall. He wanted to start a side business installing luxury vinyl in new builds. I asked for a written plan. He said I sounded like a bank. I said banks usually get paid back. He stopped smiling. I told him no. Politely, clearly once. Rochelle folded her arms. She turns everyone down. She's always been tight. Brent looked toward the house like he was measuring it. Your mom still has Elena's card, right? Rochelle did not answer immediately. She left it there for emergencies, Brent said. Book the trip. Use that. Elena owes this family anyway. She's been sitting on your dad's money and acting like she's some financial saint. Rochelle said, Dad's money is gone. Brent laughed. Come on. There's always money with Elena. She hides it in little accounts. People like her always do. This part I learned later from Ruth Bellamy, who heard it from Brent at a cookout after 2 beers. And Ruth told me, because she said a lie gets heavy if you carry it too long. Rochelle hesitated for 3 seconds. 3 seconds between wrong and doing it anyway. Then she said, She does owe us. That was all the permission she needed from herself. I was home that night helping Milo with multiplication tables. Finn was under the kitchen table pretending to be a dog. I had no idea my sister was building a vacation around my debit card. That is how betrayal works most of the time. It does not announce itself. It starts in another room with people lowering their voices and deciding what your kindness means. The first sign was small, a $400 withdrawal from my checking account in February. I saw it on a Sunday morning while drinking coffee before the kids woke up. The transaction came from a pharmacy near Mom's house. I called her. Oh, Mom said. I must have used the wrong card by accident. I was picking up my prescriptions. You withdrew cash at the pharmacy counter. I needed some extra. I was going to tell you. I waited. I'll pay it back, she added quickly. She did not. I checked further. There was $82 at a gas station, $126 at Target, $64.19 at a restaurant I had never visited. It was not enough to destroy me, but it was enough to open my eyes. 2 years earlier, I had left an emergency debit card at Mom's house. It was connected to my old checking account. I told her it was for groceries if her card failed, gas if she had to get to a doctor, or a real emergency. I said those words, real emergency. But in my family, boundaries became suggestions as soon as they were inconvenient. I called the bank and asked to remove her access. The woman on the phone told me that because Mom was listed as an authorized user on the debit card, I needed both parties present or a notarized request, 7 to 10 business days. I did not have 7 to 10 business days of trust left. The next morning, after school drop-off, I drove to Peach State Credit Union across from the tire shop. I opened a new checking account and a new savings account. I transferred everything. $2,640 from travel savings, $1,386 from checking. I redirected my paycheck. I changed every auto pay. I left the old account open with $12.34 in it because closing it would have triggered questions, and I was not ready to answer them. Then I did something old Elena would not have done. I told no one. Madison's birthday party was in April. In this version of my life, Madison was Harper, and she was turning 10. Mom's house had dogwoods blooming in the yard, and Rochelle had hung a purple glitter banner across the porch that said, "Happy birthday, Harper." Mom's name was Janice, and she had made hot dogs and baked beans while pretending everything was normal because pretending was her strongest muscle. I brought 24 cupcakes from the bakery on Elm, chocolate with vanilla frosting, Harper's favorite. Mila carried the box with both hands like it held glass. Finn carried a gift bag with a watercolor set inside because Harper liked painting animals with wings, even animals that did not normally have them. For the first hour, the party was fine. Kids ran through the backyard. Cole sprayed everyone with a hose until Rochelle yelled. Mom grilled hot dogs. Ruth Bellamy from church sat on the porch swing drinking sweet tea and watching people with the calm attention of a woman who saw more than she said. Then Rochelle pulled me into the kitchen. She closed the door halfway. Not fully. That mattered later because Ruth could see through the gap from the living room. Rochelle leaned against the counter and crossed her arms. I need to tell you something about the summer trip. I waited. We've decided to do Hilton Head this year. Me, Mom, Harper, and Cole. I waited again because sometimes silence makes people explain themselves. Rochelle's mouth tightened. Your kids aren't coming. The words were plain, not emotional, not nervous, just flat, like she had practiced them until they stopped sounding cruel to her. I looked through the doorway into the living room. Mom stood by the couch. She was holding a debit card between two fingers. My debit card. The old emergency card. Why do you have my card, Mom? I asked. Mom's face changed. Not enough for most people to notice. Enough for me. Rochelle said she needed it for the booking, Mom said. Rochelle rolled her eyes. Don't make this dramatic. You left it here. For emergencies. This is family. No, I said. This is a vacation. Rochelle stepped closer. My kids don't want your kids there this year. They're older now. They want a real trip, not some cheap cottage where Finn cries because sand is in his shoes. My whole body went still. From the living room, I saw Ruth watching. She saw Mom clutch my card. She saw Rochelle's chin lift. She saw me do the math in real time. Old Elena would have argued. Old Elena would have asked why. Old Elena would have looked at Mom and waited for her to defend my children. New Elena had $12.34 in that account and a different bank across town. I nodded once. Keep it. Rochelle blinked. She expected a fight and did not know what to do when I handed her silence instead. I called my kids. Mila looked confused. Finn still had frosting on his mouth. I picked up the cupcake box, took the gift bag, and left. The drive home was 14 minutes, I remember, because every second felt like a bead on a string. Mila sat behind me, quiet. Finn hummed a cartoon song I could not place. 2 blocks from the apartment, Mila asked, "Why did Aunt Rochelle say we're not going to the beach?" I looked at her in the rearview mirror, 8 years old, too smart, too tender. Sometimes adults make unfair choices, I said. Did Grandma make it too? That one hurt worse. I kept my eyes on the road. Grandma went along with it. Mila looked out the window. That's still making it. I had no answer. Children can cut through a whole family system with one clean sentence. At home, I put on a movie for the kids, then sat on my bed and opened my banking app. Old account, $12.34. New account, safe. Travel savings, safe. Paycheck, redirected. I stared at the numbers and felt something I could not name at first. Not happiness, not revenge. Relief, the quiet kind, like locking a door before a storm reaches the porch. 2 weeks later, Sunday dinner at Mom's confirmed everything. Fried chicken, canned green beans, rolls from a tube, and peach cobbler from the grocery bakery because Mom said she was too tired to bake from scratch, though she never seemed too tired when Rochelle wanted something. We sat around the table like a family in a picture frame, everyone arranged, nobody honest. Rochelle was in a mood I knew well, the victorious mood, the mood where she had gotten something and needed witnesses. Before the plates were cleared, she pulled out her phone. Look at this. She turned the screen toward Mom, a resort with white balconies, turquoise pool, palm trees, and people in linen clothes who looked like they had never worried about a water bill. Oceanfront Palmetto Suites, Rochelle said. Hilton Head, 4 nights, kids club, 2 adjoining rooms, seafood buffet, dolphin tour, and I booked a dinner cruise too. Mom smiled. That looks beautiful, honey. Rochelle slid her eyes to me. It's not really your kind of place anyway. I looked at her. She took a sip of tea and smiled into the glass. You couldn't afford it. Finn was beside me, pushing mashed potatoes into a mountain. He looked up. Are we going to the beach too, Mommy? The table went quiet. Mila stared at her plate. Mom looked at her napkin. Rochelle took another drink like she had not just stepped on a child's heart for sport. "We'll have our own adventure," I said. I squeezed Finn's shoulder. "A better one." Rochelle gave a tiny laugh. "Sure." I did not answer. I washed dishes. I dried them. I stacked them in Mom's cabinet the way she liked. Big plates on the bottom, small plates on top, mugs facing out. Then I took my kids home. At a red light on Sycamore, I opened my phone and typed, "Tybee Island Family Inn Affordable." That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with my laptop and a cup of coffee that had gone cold. Tybee Island was about 20 minutes east of Savannah. I had never been there, but the pictures looked like something Dad would have liked. Not fancy, not polished, just sand, water, weathered wood, and porches with chairs that had seen better paint. I found a small inn with a room available the last week of June, Sea Glass Inn. Room 6, 2 beds, a kitchenette, and an ocean view, which the reviews said meant you could see a slice of blue between 2 buildings if you leaned left. It was $89 a night, 4 nights, $356. I pulled out my legal pad. Room, $356. Gas, about $210. Food for 3, cooking most meals, $300. Activities, $175, maybe a kayak rental, ice cream, and 1 dolphin tour, if I could stretch it. Emergency cushion, $200. Total, $1,241. My new travel savings account had $2,640. I booked it. The confirmation email arrived 12 seconds later. I saved it to a folder called Summer. I took a screenshot. Then I grabbed a yellow sticky note and wrote one word, beach. I stuck it on the fridge. No dates, no place, no details. I knew how information traveled in my family. A small fact entered one ear and came out of Rochelle's mouth wearing lipstick and a plan. Mila saw the note the next morning while pouring cereal. "Beach?" she asked. "Are we really going?" I smiled. A real smile. The kind I had not felt in weeks. "It's a surprise," Finn gasped. "Are there sharks?" "Hopefully not close ones." He nodded like that was acceptable. The next twist came through Mom. A few days after I booked Tybee, she stopped by my apartment with a casserole I had not asked for. Mom did that when she felt guilty. Food was her apology language, mostly because it did not require words. She walked in, looked around, and her eyes landed on the sticky note. "Beach?" she said. "Mm-hmm." "Where?" "Not sure yet," I lied. Her eyes stayed on the note too long. "Rochelle said the Hilton Head balance is due 3 days before check-in." That sounds like something Rochelle should know. Mom shifted the casserole from one hand to the other. She's under a lot of stress. So am I. She just wants the kids to have something nice. I looked at Mila's school shoes by the door, the ones with the left toe scuffed white. So do I. Mom sighed like I was making life difficult by remembering I had children too. "You know, your father always wanted family together." That was her favorite move. Put Dad's name on whatever she wanted and hope I would obey the ghost. I opened the fridge and made space for the casserole. Dad also paid for things before he booked them. Mom said nothing. After she left, I took the sticky note off the fridge and threw it away. Then I called Sea Glass Inn and asked if they could add a note to my reservation. "Do not confirm details to anyone except Elena Hart by phone with confirmation number." The woman at the front desk said, "Honey, you'd be surprised how often we get that request." That made me feel sad for strangers and safer for myself. I did not learn the full shape of Rochelle's plan until later. People talk. Brent talked to a buddy at a gym. That buddy's wife worked with Ruth at the church office. Ruth told me 2 months later on her porch over lemonade because, as she put it, some truth needs a chair and a glass of something cold. Here is what happened behind the curtain. Rochelle booked oceanfront Palmetto Suites in early April. 2 adjoining rooms. Total cost, $3,200. She put $800 on her own credit card as the deposit. Non-refundable. The remaining $2,400 was due 3 days before check-in. She had no plan to pay it herself. Elena's card will cover it, she told Mom. She leaves money sitting. She always does. Mom said, "Are you sure that's right?" Rochelle answered, "She left the card with you. That's permission enough." It was not permission. Leaving an emergency card with your mother for groceries or a doctor visit is not a blank check for a resort vacation. But Rochelle had already decided what the card meant, and Mom had already decided she would rather disappoint me quietly than argue with Rochelle loudly. Then Rochelle did something extra. She used Mom's phone to check old texts from me. She searched for travel, beach, money, and account. She found a message I had sent the year before saying, "I'm putting $150 a month away so the kids can have the beach even if everything else gets tight." She showed it to Brent like evidence. "See?" she said. "There's at least $2,000. Brent texted back, "Smart. She'll never know until it's done." Rochelle replied with a thumbs up emoji. That emoji stayed with me after I heard about it. Not because it was the worst part. It was just so small, so casual. A tiny yellow hand approving theft. May was busy at the clinic. Allergy season meant every dog in the county seemed to be scratching itself bald. Dr. Marion Keats, my boss, had silver hair, square glasses, and the calm energy of a woman who had told people bad news for 30 years without letting it harden her. She noticed things. One afternoon, she leaned against my office door while I reconciled invoices for flea medication. "You seem lighter lately," she said. I looked up from my spreadsheet. "Do I?" "You do." I almost told her, not everything, just enough. My family tried to take something and I moved it first. Instead, I said, "Just looking forward to summer." She nodded like she understood more than I said. "Good, you should." Lighter was the right word. I felt like I had been carrying a suitcase for so long that my hand had grown around the handle. Now I had set it down, and my fingers did not know what to do with the empty space. Then Mila came home. Quiet. Mila was not a quiet child unless she was hurt or thinking. That day, after school pickup, she climbed into the back seat and buckled herself without a word. Finn talked about a caterpillar he found near the playground, but Mila stared out the window. 3 blocks from home, she said, "Harper told Emma that Finn and I can't go on the beach trip because we're not real family." I stopped at the sign on Oak Street and held the brake too long. "Who told Harper that?" I asked. Mila picked at the strap of her backpack. "She said her mom said it. She said Grandma wants a peaceful trip." The turn signal clicked. 1, 2, 3. I wanted to drive straight to Rochelle's house. I wanted to stand on her porch and ask what kind of grown woman fed poison to children and called it planning. Instead, I looked at my daughter in the mirror. "You and Finn are my family," I said. "The realest family I know. And we are going on our own trip." Finn's head popped up. "With dolphins?" "Maybe with dolphins." "What about sharks?" "Respectful sharks only." He accepted that. But that night, after bedtime stories and Finn asking for water twice, I sat on the couch with my phone and opened my banking app. The recurring payment stared back at me. Janice Hart, $300, first of every month. 4 years, roughly $14,400. I had kept Mom's lights on, her prescriptions filled, her pantry stocked. I had done what Dad asked, and while I did it, Mom allowed my sister to hold my emergency card, plan a vacation without my kids, and tell my daughter she was not real family. I pressed cancel. A pop-up asked if I was sure. I pressed confirm. My hands were steady. Mom had $1,400 a month in Social Security. She had the $22,000 emergency savings I had built from Dad's insurance. Her house was paid off. She would not be rich, but she would be fine. Rochelle lived 10 minutes away. Rochelle could buy groceries for once. I wrote a short email. "Mom, I've adjusted my finances. The monthly transfer will not continue. I love you, but I need to focus on my children now. Sent at 9:12 p.m. Mom called at 9:14. What am I supposed to do? She asked. You have savings, Mom. That's for emergencies. So is my card. Silence. Rochelle has expenses, Mom said. So do I. More silence. Then the old line. I can't believe you'd do this to me. I'm not doing anything to you, I said. I'm just not doing it for you anymore. She hung up. 20 minutes later, Rochelle texted. What did you do? Mom is crying. I read it. Set the phone screen down, washed the dinner dishes, folded a load of towels, went to bed, slept better than I had in months. A week before the trip, I pulled the summer clothes out of the hall closet. Mila had outgrown last year's shorts. Finn's swim trunks still fit, barely, if he did not breathe too aggressively. On the top shelf, behind winter hats and a plastic bin of Christmas ornaments, I found an old shoebox, brown, dusty, Red Wing printed on the side, Dad's boot brand. Inside were his union card, a faded photo of him and Mom at Jekyll Island in 1988, a receipt for copper fittings, and a white envelope with my name written in his block letters. Elena. I had forgotten about it. He had given it to me in the hospital, tucked inside the manila envelope with the insurance papers. I had been too raw to open it then, too busy after, too tired in between. I sat on the closet floor and tore the flap, one sheet of notebook paper, 7 sentences. Elena, you are the one who keeps her word. That is a good thing, but it can become a rope if people learn to pull it. Don't let anyone turn your kindness into a key to your wallet. If helping them starts hurting you or the kids, stop. You already kept the lights on long enough. Take your babies to the beach. Love, Dad. I read it once, then again, then a third time. No lecture, no guilt, just a plumber who knew both his daughters and loved them differently because they were different. He had seen this coming before I did. Maybe parents do that. Maybe good ones leave a flashlight somewhere in the dark. I folded the letter along its original creases and slid it into my wallet behind my driver's license. Somewhere I would feel it every time I reached for a card. The closet smelled like dust and old leather. I sat there for a while, not crying, just breathing. Then I got up and started packing. Walmart on a Tuesday evening was its own test of faith. Finn rode in the cart even though his legs were too long. Mila walked beside me, pretending she was too old to ride on the end, then stepping onto it when she thought I was not looking. I had a swimsuit budget, $45. Finn found shark goggles immediately, gray rubber with teeth molded around the lenses, $5.97, non-negotiable according to him. Mila took longer. She held up a pink one-piece with tiny starfish on the straps. This one? $14. I checked the seams. Solid. That one? We added 2 pairs of flip-flops, sunscreen, a mesh beach bag from clearance, and a pack of bubbles Finn insisted were for ocean science. Total $41.82, under budget by $3.18. Back home, I packed everything in a duffel bag and slid it behind winter coats. Not hidden exactly, just not visible. My family had a habit of dropping by unannounced, Mom with guilt food, Rochelle with a demand. I did not need questions. While I zipped the bag, I heard Rochelle's voice in my memory. Your kids aren't coming. My kids don't want them there. I stood in the closet and let the words become what they were. Not truth, not a sentence passed by a judge. Just cruelty spoken by someone who confused control with importance. From the bathroom, I heard Mila laughing. She had found Finn's shark goggles and was wearing them in the mirror. Finn was trying to get them back, half mad and half giggling. My kids are coming, I thought. Just not where you think. 5 days before check-in, the family group text was still active. Me, Rochelle, and Mom. Rochelle had not removed me, which was either laziness or meanness. With Rochelle, it was often both. My phone buzzed during lunch at the clinic. Rochelle sent a photo of the resort pool, lit up at night, glowing blue-green like something out of a movie. Then another photo of a balcony view, then a screenshot of a seafood dinner cruise. Mom, I booked the dinner cruise too. $480. It'll be on the same card. The same card. My old card. I read the message twice, then I opened the old banking app. $12.34. The same $12.34, sitting there since March. Rochelle was about to charge a $480 dinner cruise and a $2,400 hotel balance to an account that could not buy a family-sized pack of paper towels. I closed the app and took a bite of my sandwich. Turkey on wheat. Same as every Tuesday. I did not reply. I did not warn them. I did not say, that card won't work. Some people only learn when the receipt prints. At 2 o'clock, Dr. Keats passed my desk on her way to surgery. A golden retriever had swallowed a sock. "You're smiling at your phone," she said. "Good news?" Something like that. She raised an eyebrow and kept walking. That evening, Rochelle tried another angle. She sent me a message directly. "Mom is worried about money since you cut her off." I stared at it while stirring pasta sauce. Then another message came. "This isn't the time to be petty." Then another. "Dad would be ashamed." I picked up my phone and typed one sentence. "Dad told me to stop when helping started hurting." I did not send it. I deleted it. Some truths do not need to be handed to people who will only use them as something else to twist. I put the phone down and served dinner. 3 days before check-in, the Oceanfront Palmetto Suites ran the remaining balance at 10 a.m. $2,400. Declined. Insufficient funds. Rochelle received an automated email. Subject line: Payment declined. Action required. It said the remaining balance had to be paid within 48 hours or the reservation would be canceled. The $800 deposit was non-refundable. Rochelle called Mom at 10:16. Elena's card was declined. Mom sounded confused. "The card is right here in my purse." "Try it at an ATM." So Mom drove to Wells Fargo on Main Street, parked crooked, walked inside, inserted my old debit card, and checked the balance. $12.34. She called Rochelle from the bank lobby. "There's only $12. Rochelle went quiet long enough for Mom to check again. "That's impossible if Zoe won't," Rochelle said. "She puts money in every month." "Well, it's not there now. Maybe she moved it." Mom said my name like a question. "Elena?" Rochelle said. "I'm calling her." She did. I was at my desk entering payment for a cat dental cleaning. I saw the caller ID. Rochelle. I pressed decline and finished the entry. Column balanced on the first try. She called again. Decline. Then Mom called. Decline. Then Rochelle texted, "Call me, now." I turned my phone over and went back to work. 48 hours. That was all they had. 48 hours to replace money that had never belonged to them. Rochelle opened her credit card app. Limit, $3,000. Balance, $1,800. Available credit, $1,200. She needed $2,400, plus the $480 dinner cruise she had already bragged about. She called Brent first. "Can you lend me $1,200? Brent laughed. Not cruel exactly. More surprised. "I don't have that kind of cash lying around. You started this. I suggested it. You did it. Big difference. There is no difference. There is when the bill comes." He hung up. Then she called Mom. Mom stared at Dad's portrait above her TV and said, "My savings are for emergencies." "This is an emergency," Rochelle snapped. "It's a vacation." But Mom went to the bank anyway. Of course she did. She withdrew $600 from the emergency fund I had built for her. The teller asked if she wanted cash or a cashier's check. "Cash," Mom said. She drove it to Rochelle's house in an envelope. Rochelle scraped another $600 from her credit card, nearly maxing it out. She paid $1,200 through the resort portal, but $1,200 was not $2,400. She was still short $1,200. The clock kept moving. That night, while I gave Finn a bath, my phone lit up on the bathroom counter. Rochelle. I watched it ring. Finn had bubbles on his chin and a rubber shark balanced on his knee. "Who's calling?" he asked. "Someone who can wait." The phone went to voicemail. 2 minutes later, a text arrived. "I know you moved your money. We need to talk." I read it, set the phone down, picked up Finn's shark book and read 3 chapters. He fell asleep at the part where the whale saves the boat. At 8:40 the next evening, headlights swept across my living room curtains. A car door slammed. I knew before the knock. Rochelle stood on my welcome mat in yoga pants and a wrinkled t-shirt, mascara smudged under one eye. She looked like she had not slept. For a second, I saw the sister who used to share a bedroom with me, who used to steal my hair clips and cry when Dad killed spiders. Then she opened her mouth and the woman she had become came back. "What did you do with the money?" I opened the door but did not step back. My body filled the frame. "My money?" "You know what I mean. It's in my account, just not the one you were planning to steal from." Her chin jerked. "Steal? Mom is an authorized user. That's not stealing." "Then why didn't you ask me?" Silence. The porch light buzzed. A moth hit it twice. "We need that money," Rochelle said. "The kids are counting on this trip." "Your kids?" I said. "Not mine. You made that clear." Her eyes moved past my shoulder into the apartment. She saw Mila's backpack by the door, Finn's sneakers on the mat, the small, normal life she had decided was less important than her plans. Then her voice changed. Softer. Practiced. "I'm sorry about what I said, okay? I shouldn't have said your kids couldn't come. You told my daughter she wasn't real family. I didn't say it to her. You said it where your daughter could carry it to mine. Same thing." Rochelle's face tightened. "Can you help for Mom?" There it was. When force failed, she picked up Mom and used her like a shield. "No." "Elena, come on." "No." "You're really going to ruin this for everybody?" "I'm not ruining a vacation I was never invited on." She stared at me. "You've changed." "Yes." I stepped back and closed the door. The deadbolt clicked loud enough for her to hear. Through the window, I watched her stand on my welcome mat for 10 seconds. Then she kicked it sideways. The mat Mila had chosen from Target. Yellow letters that said, "Welcome." Rochelle kicked it like the word offended her. Then she walked to her car and drove away. The next morning at 9:15, the clinic phone rang. Not my cell, the office line. The screen showed Mom's landline. She knew I had to answer because it could have been an emergency about someone's dog. "Keats Family Veterinary Clinic, this is Elena." "Can't you just put the money back for the family?" Mom asked. I leaned back in my chair. Through the glass, I could see Dr. Keats examining a tabby cat with an ear infection. The cat looked calmer than I felt. "Mom, you held my card like it was yours." I didn't know Rochelle was going to charge that much. "But you knew she was going to charge something." "She said you owed the family." "And you believed her?" Mom breathed into the phone. "That was Rochelle's idea," she said. "I just went along." "That's the problem, Mom. You always just go along." Her breath caught. "I didn't mean for it to get like this." But it did. Then she started crying. I know my mother's cries. There is the real one, quiet and broken, and there is the performance one, with little sniffles placed where guilt should land. This was performance. I waited. I did not fill the silence. I did not apologize. I did not offer a solution. Old Elena would have folded by then. Old Elena would have said, "Let me see what I can do." Then transferred $500 and hated herself for a week. Mom said, "Your father would be so disappointed in you." There it was, the card she had been saving, not my debit card this time, a worse one. I touched my wallet. Dad's letter was inside. "Dad told me to stop when helping started hurting," I said. I stopped. The line went dead. I set the clinic phone back in the cradle. Finished the invoices, fed the clinic cat her lunch at 3:30. Wet food, chicken flavor. Life went on in small, stubborn ways. After work, I stopped at Kroger for milk, bread, bananas, and the cheap oatmeal Mila liked with brown sugar. Aisle 3, near cereal, Ruth Bellamy stood comparing 2 boxes like one of them had personally disappointed her. "Elena," she said. "Hi, Ruth." She set both boxes down. "I heard about the trip." I held the cart still. "Mom told you?" "Janice asked me to talk to you." "Of course she did." "I told her no," Ruth said. I blinked. Ruth folded her arms, not aggressively, just firmly. "I was at Harper's birthday. I saw Rochelle take you into the kitchen. I saw your mother holding that card. I saw you leave with your babies. Elena, you do not owe anyone anything." I looked at the oatmeal boxes because my eyes were suddenly too hot. "I know," I said. "Do you?" I swallowed. She softened. "Your daddy would say the same." Ruth had known my father for 30 years. They had served on the church building committee together. He had fixed her bathroom sink twice and refused money both times. She did not need to explain what she meant. She reached over and squeezed my hand. Quick, firm, the way you squeeze someone's hand to pull them across a ditch. "Have a good summer, honey." That was it. No speech, no dramatic music, just a woman in a grocery aisle saying what my own mother should have said. I drove home, parked, and sat in the car for a minute with the engine off. Then I went inside and told myself, "Pack the car tonight. Leave tomorrow." At 9 p.m., the apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the drip of the kitchen faucet I kept meaning to fix. The kids were asleep. I loaded the car in 4 trips, cooler on the backseat floor, turkey sandwiches wrapped in foil, juice boxes, grapes in a zip bag, string cheese, crackers, 2 apples Finn would ask for and then not eat. Duffel bags in the trunk, beach towels, the big striped ones from the linen closet, shark goggles in a plastic bag on top because I wanted Finn to see them first thing. I checked the reservation again. Sea Glass Inn, room 6. Check-in 3 p.m. Confirmation number saved in my phone and written on paper in my wallet because I do not trust technology when it matters. I texted Dr. Keats, taking Friday off as planned. 3 dots appeared. Have the best time. You deserve it. I locked the front door and sat on the porch steps with a glass of lemonade. Across the road, Mr. Sutter's porch light glowed. Somewhere, a sprinkler clicked. The kind of silence that does not ask anything from you. 4 missed calls from Rochelle. 2 from Mom. I looked at the notifications and let them sit. I did not listen to the voicemails. I did not read the texts. Tomorrow, I would drive south with my windows down, my kids singing off-key to the radio, and none of those messages would matter. I opened my wallet. Dad's letter was folded behind my license. I did not read it. I knew what it said. Take your babies to the beach, so I did. We left at 5:30 in the morning. The sky was just starting to pale, and the kids were half asleep in pajamas. Mila brought a blanket and a notebook. Finn brought a stuffed turtle, 2 toy cars, and the shark goggles, even though I told him goggles were not for the car. We stopped once for gas, once for bathrooms, and once because Finn said he might throw up, then changed his mind when he saw a gas station donut. By noon, we reached Tybee. Room 6 at Sea Glass Inn was small, clean, and smelled like salt air and lemon cleaner. 2 beds, a kitchenette with a hot plate and a mini fridge, a narrow porch with 2 chairs. The ocean view was exactly as promised, a slice of blue between 2 buildings if you leaned left. It was perfect. Finn had his shoes off before I finished unloading. Mila changed into her starfish swimsuit so fast she nearly put it on backward. By 1 o'clock, we were on the beach. Mila ran toward the waves, ankles in foam, laughing like the ocean had told her a secret. Finn dropped to his knees and started digging with a seriousness usually reserved for surgeons. I sat on the blanket, sun on my arms, breeze off the water, sand already in places sand should not be. This is it, I thought. This is the trip. At 2:15, my phone rang. Mom. I reached into the beach bag, looked at the screen, then looked at Mila jumping over a wave. I looked at Finn, tongue out, digging like the future depended on it. I pressed decline. It rang again at 2:16. decline, 217 decline. Finn looked up. Sand on his eyebrows. Mommy, who keeps calling? I slid the phone to the bottom of the beach bag, screen down. Nobody important right now. Can we look for dolphins? Absolutely. He dropped the shovel and ran toward the water. I followed. The phone kept buzzing in the bag. The ocean drowned it out. At the same time, 250 miles north, Rochelle's SUV pulled into the oceanfront Palmetto Suites parking lot after a 4-hour drive. Mom sat in the passenger seat, knees stiff. Harper and Cole were in the back, faces pressed to the windows, already yelling about the pool. Rochelle walked into the lobby with sunglasses on her head and a rolling suitcase behind her. The front desk clerk wore a blue polo and the tired smile of someone who had already handled too many vacation people that day. Name? Rochelle Vale. The clerk typed, then typed again. Then frowned. I'm showing a remaining balance of $2,400. A partial payment of $1,200 was received yesterday, but the system requires full payment at check-in. You're still short $1,200. Rochelle pulled out her credit card, the same one already at its limit. She slid it across the counter like confidence could create money. The clerk swiped, waited. I'm sorry, ma'am. It declined. Rochelle stared at the card machine as if eye contact might threaten it into approval. Run it again. The clerk did. Declined. Mom sat in a lobby chair, hands folded over her purse. I don't have any more money, she said quietly. Harper appeared beside Rochelle. Mom, where's our room? Not now. Cole looked at the pool through the glass doors. Can we swim? Not now, Cole. Rochelle grabbed Mom's arm and pulled her toward the hallway near the brochure rack. Call Elena, she said. Now. Mom took out her phone. Her hands shook, the real kind this time. She dialed me. I was standing in the Atlantic Ocean, holding Finn's hand while he searched for dolphins. Call 1, declined. Call 2, declined. Call 3, declined. 22 calls in 1 hour. I did not answer a single one. I was not making a speech. I was not trying to punish them. I was not sitting there smiling at their panic. I was watching my son point at every wave and ask if it was a dolphin fin. I was helping my daughter collect shells in a plastic cup. I was choosing the people who had never treated my love like a payment plan. Back at the Palmetto Suites, Rochelle lost control. Not quiet anger. Not the tight-lipped kind. The kind that clears space around a person. She did this on purpose, Rochelle shouted. She moved the money because she's vindictive. The clerk kept her face neutral. Ma'am, please lower your voice. Other families turned. A man in a golf shirt pulled his kids closer. A woman with a roller bag stopped beside a potted palm and stared. Harper stood near the brochure rack, crying quietly. Not loud child crying, embarrassed crying. The kind a 10-year-old does when she understands her mother is making a scene and cannot stop it. Cole tugged Mom's sleeve. Grandma, I want to go. The manager came out. Tall man, navy blazer, calm voice. Ma'am, if you can't provide payment, we cannot release the rooms. I'm going to have to ask you to step aside. I paid a deposit, Rochelle snapped. Yes, ma'am, the deposit is non-refundable. This is ridiculous. I understand you're upset. No, you don't. You're right, the manager said. But I do need you to lower your voice. That made Rochelle angrier because some people hate calm more than conflict. She tried Brent. No answer. Again, voicemail. She tried me from her own phone. I declined. She tried Mom's phone. Declined. She sent texts. Answer. This is about the kids. You are cruel. Mom is crying. You win, okay? You win. But I was building a sandcastle with Finn. He called it a shark house and insisted sharks needed a front porch. After the manager asked them to leave the lobby, they walked outside into the parking lot. All 4 of them. No room. $800 deposit gone. Rochelle's credit card maxed out. Mom's emergency savings lighter by $600, gas tank half full, 2 tired kids in beach clothes with nowhere to sleep. The parking lot was fresh black asphalt and 95 degrees. Heat rose in waves. Mom lowered herself onto a concrete bench near the handicap spaces and looked suddenly older than 62. Her purse sat on her lap. Inside, it was my old debit card, useless as a gift card with no balance, and her phone showing call after call to me. "Who's paying for this?" Mom asked. Her voice was small. Not accusing, just tired. Rochelle paced near the SUV. Elena was supposed to. Mom looked up. Elena didn't agree to pay. Rochelle stopped. "I asked her," Mom said. "She said no. You told me she'd never notice." Mom's mouth trembled. "You told me if I didn't help, you'd stop bringing Harper and Cole around." There it was. Truth, plain and ugly, standing in a resort parking lot with sunscreen melting down its neck. Harper and Cole sat in the back of the SUV with the doors open. Mom bought them crackers and Gatorade from the gas station because nobody had eaten since breakfast. "I want to go home," Harper said. Cole looked at Mom. "I want Aunt Elena." Rochelle spun around. "Don't you dare say her name." Cole flinched. Mom closed her eyes. Nobody moved for a full minute. Then Mom stood, slow and stiff. "Take us home." The drive back to Georgia took 4 hours. Mom later told Ruth nobody spoke for the first hour. Not a word. Just highway, tires, and the air conditioning blowing too cold because angry people sometimes blast the AC like it is the other person's fault they are sweating. Harper played a game on Mom's phone. Cole fell asleep with his stuffed dinosaur under his chin. Somewhere around I-95, Harper opened Instagram. She saw the photo I had posted an hour earlier. Mila and Finn kneeling beside their lopsided sandcastle, Finn's shark goggles pushed onto his forehead, Mila grinning, sandy and sunlit. Caption: "Beach day with my 2 favorites." Harper turned the phone toward Mom. "Grandma, Lily, and Jake are at the beach." Their names were Mila and Finn now, but that sentence landed the same way. Mom stared at the screen, her grandchildren laughing on a beach without her. The grandchildren she had allowed to be excluded. She handed the phone back without a word. 40 minutes later, Cole woke up and rubbed his eyes. "Mom," he asked, why couldn't we go with Mila and Finn?" The car went quiet again. Mom turned slightly in her seat. "Rochelle," she said, "what have we done?" Rochelle gripped the wheel. "Don't start, Mom." Tybee Island at sunset was the color of peach skin, then copper, then a deep purple gray that made the water look like metal. I sat on the blanket with my back against the low dune wall. Mila had fallen asleep with her head on my lap, hair damp, sand on her cheek. Finn was still digging 20 feet away. Different hole, different purpose. This one was a crab trap. No crab had been foolish enough to enter. I pulled out my phone. 22 missed calls from Mom. 14 from Rochelle. 5 voicemails. Too many texts. I played the first voicemail. Mom's voice was hoarse. "Elena, the trip fell apart. We drove all the way here for nothing. Rochelle is beside herself. The deposit is gone. Please call me back. Please." I listened to the whole thing. 38 seconds. Then I put the phone back in the beach bag and zipped it shut. I did not call back. I did not want them to suffer. I was not celebrating. But there was nothing I could say that would fix what they had done. And there was nothing they could say that would undo the fact that they planned to spend my money after excluding my children. Some conversations do not need to happen when someone is panicking. They need to happen when the truth has had time to sit down. "Mommy!" Finn ran toward me, fist raised like a trophy. "I found a shell." He opened his hand. A broken sand dollar, split almost down the middle, one half bigger than the other. "Is it still good if it's broken?" he asked. I took it and ran my thumb over the rough edge. "The best ones usually are," I said. He grinned and ran back to his crab trap. I looked at the ocean. Dad's letter was in my wallet. "Take your babies to the beach." I had. Back in Georgia that night, Rochelle sat at her kitchen counter with a glass of wine she could not afford and called Brent. He answered on the 4th ring. "Your brilliant plan cost me $800 and a vacation," she said. "My plan?" "You told me to use her card." "I suggested it. You did it." "You're unbelievable." You booked a resort you couldn't pay for. Rochelle, this is Elena's fault. Brent paused. The long kind of pause that means someone is about to be honest and does not care where it lands. Is it, though? Then he hung up. Rochelle sat alone in her kitchen. No resort, no vacation, no deposit, credit card maxed. $600 from Mom she would either have to pay back or pretend to forget. 2 kids disappointed. And nobody left to blame who would accept the blame quietly. On her fridge was a photo from the beach 2 years earlier. Harper, Cole, Mila, and Finn at Jekyll Island. All 4 kids smiling. All 4 sandy and sunburned and happy. Rochelle took the photo down and laid it face down on the counter. That was the thing about Rochelle. She did not just want to win. She wanted no evidence of what winning had cost. We came home Sunday tan, tired and happy. Finn told Dr. Keats about the dolphin Monday morning before I even clocked in. In his version, the dolphin came close enough to borrow his goggles. By lunchtime, it had apparently winked at him. Dr. Keats listened like it was breaking news. Tuesday afternoon, Mom called. I was in my car in the clinic parking lot, windows down, keys in my hand. I let it ring twice, then answered. Can we talk? She asked. You can talk. I'm listening. She exhaled. I want to apologize. I turned the key back so the radio shut off. I shouldn't have let Rochelle decide, she said. And the card? I didn't know she was going to charge that much, but you knew she was going to charge something. Silence. A crow landed on the dumpster across the lot, looked around like it owned the place, then flew off. Mom, I said, from now on, my finances are mine. No shared accounts, no cards at your house, no emergency access, no monthly transfer. If you need help, you can ask, and I will decide. But I am not funding plans that exclude me or my children. Her breathing was shallow, not crying, thinking. I understand, she said quietly. I did not think she fully did. Understanding is not a switch. It is a slow thing, like water wearing a groove in stone. You can see Mila and Finn, I said. Any Sunday you want, but not as a reward for keeping Rochelle happy, not if they're treated like second-class grandchildren. I know. And Mom? Yes? I'm not angry. She made a small sound. I'm just done being the wallet. That sentence sat between us. I'm sorry, she said again. This time it sounded closer to real. We said goodbye. I went back inside, fed the clinic cat, finished the monthly report, and picked up my kids at 5:15, like always. Rochelle did not call, not that week, not the next. 2 full weeks of silence, which was its own kind of answer. Then she posted something on Facebook. Some people care more about money than family. Sad when kids suffer because adults are selfish. She did not tag me. She did not need to. Small towns know how to read smoke. For 10 minutes, I stared at the post. Old Elena would have typed a paragraph. Dates, amounts, screenshots, truth with receipts. New Elena took a breath and locked her phone. Then Ruth commented, sometimes the person who refuses to pay for being mistreated is not the selfish one. By morning, Rochelle had deleted the post. 3 weeks after Hilton Head, we had the town potluck at the community center. Paper plates, folding tables, the smell of pulled pork, coleslaw, and too many casseroles. I walked in with Mila, Finn, and a bowl of potato salad. Rochelle stood across the room near the dessert table. We made eye contact. Hers slid away first. I got in the food line. That was it. No courtroom, no screaming match. Life is not always built for dramatic endings. Sometimes you just stand on opposite sides of a room and eat barbecue. Harper broke away from Rochelle's table and ran up to me. Aunt Elena, can Mila come play? Whatever her mother had told her about real family had not stuck the way Rochelle wanted. Of course, sweetie, I said. Anytime. Harper grabbed Mila's hand and they ran toward the playground. Cole followed Finn a few seconds later, asking if he still had the shark goggles. Rochelle watched from across the room, said nothing. Left before pie was served. Mom stayed. That was new. She sat beside me with a paper plate and did not mention money once. She asked Mila about school. She asked Finn about dolphins. He told the full story, including the part where the dolphin respected him. Mom laughed, small but real. When we left, she walked us to the car. "Elena," she said. I turned. I brought the card. She pulled my old debit card from her purse, the one connected to the account with $12.34, the one that had caused all those calls. She held it out with both hands like it was heavier than plastic. I took it. "I should have given it back when you asked why I had it," she said. "Yes," I said. "You should have." She nodded. "I know." At home, I cut the card into 6 pieces over the trash can. Mila watched from the table. "Is that the card Grandma had?" she asked. "Yes." "Are you mad at her?" I thought about lying. Then I thought about all the soft lies children are given because adults are uncomfortable. "I was hurt," I said. "I'm still hurt, but I can be hurt and still be okay." Mila nodded slowly. "Are we still family?" I walked over and kissed the top of her head. "You, Finn, and me, always." She leaned against me. "And Grandma?" "That depends on how she treats us now." Mila accepted that. Kids understand boundaries better than adults pretend they do. Summer moved on. School supply lists came out. Finn needed a new backpack because his old one had a zipper that gave up if you looked at it wrong. Mila chose purple folders. I kept working, kept budgeting, kept putting $150 a month into the travel account because stopping would have felt like letting Rochelle take more than she already tried to. Mom came over on Sundays sometimes. Not every Sunday, but enough. She brought cookies once, then asked before giving the kids soda. Another new thing, she invited us to lunch and did not invite Rochelle without telling me. Another new thing, she still slipped sometimes. She would say, "Rochelle is having a hard week," in a voice that used to make me reach for my wallet. I would answer, "I hope she figures it out." Then I would change the subject. Rochelle stayed distant until August, when Harper and Mila ended up at the same birthday party for a girl from school. I saw her near the picnic tables. She saw me too. For a minute, I thought she might come over and start something. Instead, Harper ran up to me first. "Aunt Elena, Mom said we might do the beach next year, but only if it's cheaper." Rochelle's face went red. I smiled at Harper. "The beach doesn't have to be fancy to be fun." Harper nodded. "Mila said Tybee had shark houses." Finn, standing beside me, corrected her. "Only one shark house, but it was strong." Rochelle looked away. That was the closest she came to an apology for a long time. Shame, with no words attached. Months later, Ruth told me one last piece of the story. She said Mom had confessed something during a church cleanup day. While they were folding tablecloths, Mom said, "I think I trained Elena to be useful and Rochelle to be helpless, and then I punished Elena for being tired." Ruth told me she answered, "Well, Janice, you can stop." I think about that often. People act like family roles are assigned forever. The responsible one, the dramatic one, the peacemaker, the difficult one, the one who pays, the one who takes. But roles are not blood types. You can stop playing yours. The people who benefited from it will call it betrayal. That does not make it betrayal. That fall, I took Mila and Finn to Jekyll Island for one weekend. Just us. I did not tell Mom until after we came home. I brought Dad's old photo with me, the one from the shoebox. Him and Mom in 1988. I sat on the porch of a cheap rental cottage after the kids fell asleep and looked at it for a long time. Dad looked young in the picture, sunburned, tired, happy. Mom leaned against him, smiling at something outside the frame. Before all the sickness, before the insurance money, before Rochelle learned how to weaponize grandchildren, before I learned that being dependable can become a trap if nobody respects the person doing the depending. I opened my wallet and read his letter again. "Take your babies to the beach." I had done that more than once now. And I finally understood something. Dad had not asked me to keep everyone comfortable forever. He had asked me to keep the lights on. I had, for 4 years. Then I turned off the part of me that let people walk into my life and spend me. The phone still rings sometimes. Mom, mostly. Rochelle, rarely. When Mom calls, I answer if I can. If I cannot, I call back when I am ready. That sounds small, but for me it was a revolution. I no longer treat every family call like a fire alarm. Rochelle never paid Mom back the full $600. She gave her $100 once and called it a start. Mom did not ask me to cover the rest. That was progress. Sad progress, but progress. The old account with $12.34 stayed open for a while. I liked checking it sometimes. Not because I needed to, because it reminded me that a boundary does not always need to be loud. Sometimes it looks like a quiet transfer at a credit union across town. Sometimes it looks like declining a call while your son searches for dolphins. Sometimes it looks like letting someone reach into the place where they think your money is and find only $12.34. The broken sand dollar from Tybee sits on my kitchen windowsill now. Finn wanted to glue it, but I said no. I like it broken. One half larger than the other. Uneven. Still beautiful. Still itself. Mila once asked me why I kept it. I told her, because it reminds me that broken things can still be worth keeping. She thought about that and said, but not broken promises? I smiled. No, not always. If someone needs your bank card to keep you in the family, you were never in the family. You were funding it. If someone only calls you generous when you say yes, they do not love your heart. They love your access. And if helping them starts hurting your children, stop. You are allowed to stop. That is where I will leave it. A mother who just went along. A sister who thought my savings belonged to her. 22 unanswered calls from a resort parking lot. A father's letter folded behind my license. A broken sand dollar that was still good enough. And 2 kids on a beach laughing like the whole ocean belonged to them. For once, it did. Commentary, discussion, explanation, and lessons. Now that we have heard the full story, let's slow down and really talk about what happened here. Because this was not just a story about a stolen card. It was not only about a failed vacation. And it was not only about a sister who tried to use money that did not belong to her. The story was really about family roles, silent pressure, emotional guilt, and the moment one woman finally understood that love does not mean giving people access to everything you have. At the center of this story, we have Elena. She is not rich. She is not living some easy life. She is a single mother, working hard, raising 2 children, paying bills, checking every dollar, and still trying to keep her family together after her father's death. That detail is very important. Elena is careful with money because she has to be. She is not selfish. She is not cold. She is not greedy. She is a woman who learned that if she does not plan, nobody is coming to save her and her children. So when people in her family look at her savings and call it extra money, they are already disrespecting the work behind it. This is where the story becomes painful. Elena's father trusted her because he knew she would do the right thing. He knew she would protect her mother's bills, handle the life insurance properly, and keep everything stable. But after he died, that trust became a burden. Elena did what he asked. She paid the bills. She set up the emergency fund. She sent money every month. She kept her mother comfortable. But instead of being respected for that, she became the family wallet. And that happens in real life more often than people admit. The responsible person gets punished for being responsible. The careful person gets called selfish. The person who saves money becomes the first person everyone wants to use. Rochelle, Elena's sister, is not just careless. She is entitled. There is a difference. A careless person may make mistakes with money. An entitled person believes other people should clean up those mistakes. Rochelle does not ask Elena for help in an honest way. She does not say, I cannot afford this trip. She does not say, can we plan something cheaper so all the kids can come? Instead, she secretly decides that Elena's money should pay for a vacation. Elena and her children are not even invited to. That is not family. That is exploitation with a family label on it. And look at how the cruelty starts. Rochelle does not simply book a different trip. She makes sure Elena knows her children are not welcome. She says Elena's kids are not coming because her kids do not want them there. But later we see the truth. Her own children did want Mila and Finn. Cole even says he wants Aunt Elena. Harper still wants to play with Mila. So the children were not the problem, the adults were. Rochelle used the children as an excuse because it sounded less ugly than saying, I want a nicer trip, and I want you to pay for it without being included. Now let's talk about Janice, the mother. Janice may not be the loud villain, but she is still responsible. In many family stories, there is one person who does the open damage and another person who allows it. Rochelle is the open damage. Janice is the person who just goes along, and that phrase is one of the most important ideas in this story. I just went along sounds harmless, but it can hurt people deeply. When you stay silent while someone mistreats another person, you are not neutral. Silence can become permission. Janice held the card. Janice knew the card was for emergencies. Janice knew Elena's children were being excluded. And still she stood there and let it happen. That is why Elena's pain is so deep. It is not only that Rochelle betrayed her. Elena expected Rochelle to be selfish. What hurt more was that her mother watched it happen and did not protect her or her kids. Many people can survive an enemy being cruel. What breaks them is when someone who should love them quietly agrees with the cruelty. Janice wanted to avoid conflict with Rochelle, so she created a bigger wound with Elena. That is a powerful lesson. Avoiding one hard conversation can create a much bigger problem later. The card itself becomes a symbol in this story. It is only plastic, but it represents access. Elena left that card for emergencies. In her mind, it was an act of care. In Rochelle's mind, it became an opportunity. That is a very real warning. When people do not respect boundaries, even your kindness can become a tool against you. A spare key, a shared password, a bank card, a family favor, a monthly transfer. All of these things can be safe with the right people and dangerous with the wrong people. Elena did not stop being kind when she moved her money. She became wise. The most satisfying part of the story is that Elena does not scream. She does not chase them. She does not expose them immediately. She simply moves her money. That is what makes this revenge quiet but strong. She does not need to destroy Rochelle. She only removes access. And once access is gone, Rochelle's plan destroys itself. This is why the failed resort scene works so well emotionally. Rochelle built the whole vacation on a lie. She acted rich using someone else's money. She insulted Elena by saying she could not afford the trip. But in the end, Rochelle was the one standing in a resort lobby with a declined card and no room. There is a special kind of irony here. Rochelle said Elena could not afford the vacation, but Rochelle could not afford the vacation without stealing from Elena. That is not just a twist. That is the truth coming back in public. Sometimes people try to shame you for the exact thing they are hiding about themselves. They call you broke because they need your money. They call you selfish because they cannot survive without your help. They call you dramatic because they do not want anyone to notice what they did. The 22 missed calls are also more than just a dramatic detail. They show how people react when control stops working. Before this moment, Rochelle and Janice believed Elena would always answer. They believed she would always fix things. They believed guilt would reach her faster than logic. But this time, Elena is on the beach with her children. She sees the phone ring and she chooses not to let the emergency of guilty people become her emergency. That is a huge emotional shift. She does not ignore them because she is cruel. She ignores them because she is finally present with her own kids. That beach scene is the emotional heart of the story. Elena is not in a luxury resort. She is not trying to prove she is better. She is in a simple room on a simple beach with two children who feel chosen. That matters more than any oceanfront balcony. Rochelle wanted status. Elena wanted peace. Rochelle wanted to look like she had the perfect vacation. Elena wanted her kids to laugh without feeling unwanted. And in the end, Elena got the better trip because she got the honest one. The father's letter adds another layer. Warren is gone, but his voice gives Elena permission to stop. That is so meaningful because Elena has been carrying his request for years. She believed keep the lights on meant keep sacrificing forever. But his letter makes it clear, helping should not become harm. He tells her not to let kindness become a key to her wallet. That line is one of the strongest ideas in the whole story, because kindness is beautiful when it is freely given. But when people start expecting it, demanding it, and punishing you for stopping, it is no longer kindness. It has become control. Another important point is how the children reveal the truth. Adults can lie, adults can twist stories, adults can pretend they are doing things for the family, but children often show what is really happening. Mila understands that Grandma going along is still making a choice. Cole asks why they could not go with Mila and Finn. Harper still wants to play with Mila. These moments show us that the family division was not natural. It was created by adults who cared more about control than connection. The kids did not need a fancy resort. They needed honest adults. The story also shows that boundaries do not always feel powerful at first. Sometimes they feel quiet. Sometimes they feel scary. Elena does not become fearless overnight. She still feels hurt. She still loves her mother. She still remembers her father. She still has to sit with the sadness of what her family did. But she acts differently. That is what growth looks like. Growth is not always a big speech. Sometimes growth is pressing cancel on a monthly transfer. Sometimes it is closing the door and turning the deadbolt. Sometimes it is saying, I am not angry. I am just done being the wallet. That line is very important. I am just done being the wallet. Elena is not saying she hates her mother. She is not saying she will never speak to her again. She is saying the relationship has to change. Love can continue, but access ends. That is a mature boundary. Some people think boundaries mean cutting everyone off forever. Sometimes they do. But sometimes boundaries mean you can be in my life, but you cannot use my money. You can see my children, but you cannot treat them as less. You can call me, but I will answer when I am ready. Rochelle's ending is also realistic. She does not suddenly become a better person. She does not give a perfect apology. She posts something petty online. She avoids eye contact at the potluck. She feels shame, but she does not fully own it. That feels real. Some people do not change just because they face consequences. Sometimes consequences only stop them from doing the same thing again for a while. But the important thing is that Elena does not wait for Rochelle to become fair before she protects herself. That is another lesson. You do not need the other person to understand your boundary for the boundary to be valid. Janice's small change is also interesting. She gives the card back. She sits with Elena at the potluck. She starts asking before giving the kids soda. These are small things, but small things matter when trust has been damaged. Trust is rebuilt in tiny actions, not dramatic speeches. Janice cannot erase what she allowed, but she can stop allowing it again. And Ruth's line about Janice training Elena to be useful and Rochelle to be helpless explains the family pattern perfectly. Parents sometimes create roles without meaning to. One child becomes the fixer, another becomes the excuse maker, and years later everyone acts shocked when the fixer gets tired. The broken sand dollar is a beautiful symbol near the end. Finn asks if it is still good if it is broken. Elena says the best ones usually are. That is not just about the shell. It is about Elena. It is about her family. It is about trust. Something can be cracked and still have meaning, but the story also makes a smart distinction when Mila asks about broken promises. Some broken things are worth keeping, some broken promises are not. That is a deep lesson. Forgiveness does not mean pretending nothing broke. Love does not mean handing the same person the same weapon again. So, what do we learn from this story? First, being responsible should not make you available for exploitation. If you work hard, save money, and plan ahead, that does not mean everyone else has a right to your resources. Second, family help should be honest. If someone has to hide the plan from you, they already know it is wrong. Third, Silence can be a form of betrayal. Janice did not scream at Elena, but she still hurt her by allowing Rochelle's behavior. Fourth, boundaries are not cruelty. Boundaries are protection, especially when children are involved. And fifth, peace is often cheaper than image. Rochelle wanted a resort she could not afford. Elena wanted a beach her kids could enjoy. One trip collapsed in a parking lot. The other became a memory her children would carry. The strongest part of Elena's journey is that she stops confusing love with payment. She realizes that if people only value her when she is paying, then they are not valuing her. They are valuing her access. That is something many people need to hear. You can love your family and still protect your bank account. You can respect your parents and still say no. You can help people for years and still decide today is the day you stop. The amount of help you gave yesterday does not mean you owe the same help forever. And maybe the biggest lesson is this: do not wait until people completely drain you before you call it enough. Elena did not wait for the account to be emptied. She moved the money, she changed the pattern, she chose her kids. That choice did not make her selfish. It made her awake. For years she kept the lights on for her mother. But on that beach, she finally turned a light on for herself. So when we look back at the 22 calls, we should not only see missed calls. We should see 22 chances Elena had to fall back into the old role, and 22 times she chose not to. Every declined call was not revenge. It was recovery. It was Elena saying, without speaking, "Your panic does not control my peace anymore." And that is why this story stays with us. Because the real victory is not that Rochelle lost the resort room. The real victory is that Elena finally stopped losing herself. The end.